Greetings, fellow heathens. It is I, Count Jackula. So I wasn't planning on doing a video today, but someone sent me this video called Why Science is the New Irrational Religion. And let's just go into this.
People generally think that science is all about truth, but as we'll show in this video, it is nowhere near the truth, and its explanations about your existence and your purpose are just as absurd as mainstream religion.
Dude, look, I know you'd think we'd get along because, like, you're wearing makeup, and you talk about, like, heavy metal satanic music and shit, and, you know, on that level, you know, rock on. But I hate to break it to you, science doesn't say anything about your purpose. Like at all. Ever. It doesn't concern itself with that. Ever. Hyperionism? What the fuck? Hang on, kids. I gotta go look this up. All right. Oh, shit. Urban Dictionary. I thought I was at least gonna get Wikipedia. God damn it! The fucking only entry in here is this guy. Oh, fucking hell. Hyperionism, an individual form of the ancient religion of light, which is based off mathematics, Pythagorean Illuminism. Oh, okay. All right, so Pythagorean Illuminism. All right, let's look that up. I mean, I'm a little bit familiar with Pythagoreanism, but I don't know what the context is here. So let's see. Gnostic Illuminism. Okay, well, I know about that. You know, Gnostic Illuminism is all about the search for gnosis or higher understanding of spiritual matters, essentially. Okay, all right. I think I see where this guy is coming from. Look, I think calling it Hyperionism is a little douche nozzly, but, you know, all right, let's give this guy a chance.
Every era thinks that they have it all figured out, and the ideas of the past were crazy. Those born in the early ages of humanity thought that their primitive stories about creation were true, and those born in the Christian era thought that their religious ideas were true, and most born today think that scientific materialism is true.
Dude, have you looked around you? That's really fucking debatable.
But in actuality, the people of the future will look back on scientific materialism as a primitive and childish view of reality.
That is a gigantic assumption. Dude, I would never fucking make a claim that fucking presumptuous and redonkulous.
Don't get trapped by the consciousness of the era that you were born into.
All right, well, you know, Jung would agree with him there, and yeah, so do I. He's got that one right.
In 100 years, science will look nothing like it does today.
Well, you know, yeah. I mean, you know, science used to basically be alchemy, and we don't call it alchemy anymore. It's now it's science, physics, and engineering. So, yeah.
So if you are really looking for truth, then have an open mind and weigh everything we are about to say with logic and reason.
Wait, we're calling science a religion, now he's calling for logic and reason? Oh, strap in, kids!
You see, people assume that scientific materialism is rational. However, that is blatantly incorrect.
I don't think I'm strapped in hard enough.
Our system, Hyperionism, is mathematical, rationalist, and deductive.
All right, I just want to let you know that this system of Hyperionism is one he made up. All right, there's nobody else. It's just him. All right?
While science is about sense data, empiricism, and induction. Science is an empirical system, which is opposed to rationalism.
What? Oh my God. Okay. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. All right. So, where to start? Okay, first, let's define induction. And then we will break down all the ways this is wrong. All right. So, Inductive reasoning basically takes a premise which you know to be true and then tries to build an argument using it. For example, all biological life forms that we know of depend on water. Therefore, if we discover a new biological life form, it will probably also depend on water. That's an inductive conclusion. It starts with what you know is true and comes up with a conclusion that is probably true, as opposed to deductive, which starts with a premise that could be false, so that you figure out all the ways in which it might not be true, so that by the end, you have an idea of what is true. That's the idea. Science uses both deduction and induction. All right? You deduce what is true by eliminating everything that is false. And once you have enough of that, you can then try to apply it to things which are like what you have already been studying. For example, ice melts when you heat it. So you then take that observation and apply it to other materials. Does wood melt? No. Does metal melt? Yes. All right, so on some level, at least in this instance, metal and water have a similar property. And from that, we eventually came up with the concept of the melting point. And from that, we also figured out that the reason wood doesn't melt is that a material also has a thing called a kindling point. And if the kindling point is lower than the melting point, it will burn rather than melt. Coming up with that idea, which is a baseline of chemistry, took both deduction and induction. So he's wrong on this level. Science uses both deduction and induction. I'll say it again, both of them. But you want to know the other way in which he is super wrong? So he says that his philosophy, called Hyperionism, is based on mathematical, rationalist, and deductive rather than inductive reasoning. It's the fact that induction is also a mathematical principle!
This can't be stressed enough. Science is not about reason. Science is about empiricism.
Dude, empiricism and rationalism are not opposite concepts. They deal in different shit. Okay, look. Empiricism deals with things that can be derived out of experience. That which goes up must come down. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. Rationalism deals in truths or things which are considered innate, things that don't need you to observe them. For example, Noam Chomsky makes the claim that the human ability to use language, as opposed to the language itself, is innate. And another thing that's like that, yes, is mathematics. You don't need to observe physical numbers for them to appear in nature. Every physicist and mathematician will tell you this. But they aren't opposed to each other. Mathematics is not opposed to physics. Physics uses mathematics. Like deduction and induction, here, rationalism is used to support an empirical claim. Because if it works both empirically and rationally, we can be pretty assured that it's true to the best of our knowledge.
The definition of empiricism is the doctrine that all knowledge is derived from sense experience, whereas rationalism is the doctrine that all knowledge is based on reason and not on religious faith or sense experience. These two views are opposite, and never forget that science is an empirical system, not a rational system. Furthermore, science is inductive, whereas our system is deductive. Deduction is a method of reasoning that guarantees 100% that the conclusion is true no matter what.
No, it doesn't!
while induction is a method based on repeated tests that only ever gives a probability of something being true. No matter how good the inductive test is, it always has the probability of being wrong. Deduction is about guaranteed truth, while induction only gives a probability of being true.
Dude, just because there's only a possibility that my cell phone is gonna work right today doesn't mean cellular technology is a lie!
Classical mechanics was once considered to be absolutely true, and you were considered crazy by the scientific establishment if you thought otherwise. However, today it is known that classical mechanics is completely and utterly false. It's been replaced by quantum mechanics.
Oh my god. Fucking Satan, give me strength. No! Classical mechanics is not disproven by quantum mechanics! It just isn't! That is not what it does! Classical mechanics works within the framework of only seeing things here on planet Earth. Quantum mechanics works on the quantum level. Particles, little tiny things that are happening that make classical mechanics function. Classical mechanics wasn't wrong, it was incomplete because we didn't need to go any further at the time because we couldn't observe particles even mathematically. Now we can! That's why we built that big fucking hadron collider!
Now, understand what we're saying. Science has been great at coming up with advances in technology and medicine, and that's wonderful.
You bet your ass it's wonderful! I got a fucking cell phone and a fucking allergy prescription that fucking says it's amazing! It's the best! It's gonna keep my cock hard at 70!
But just because science comes up with material inventions does not mean that they know the truth about reality. That is a huge logical fallacy.
You're right. That is a huge logical fallacy. But I don't know any scientist that has ever claimed to understand all reality. That's why it is a course of study that they look into, that they continue to explore to this day.
And fallacies are everywhere. For example, if a person prayed to God for someone that was sick to get better, and they did get better, it does not mean that it was because of the prayer.
Wait, we're talking about religion now? Oh, God fucking damn it. If you disprove religion, it doesn't disprove science. You moron.
And just because science can come up with smartphones and smart pads does not mean that they know anything about the underlying nature of reality. In fact, classical mechanics is responsible for all of these advances and even getting people to the moon. But it is a fact that classical mechanics is 100% wrong.
Oh, 100%? Oh, let's check this out. Okay, I'm throwing this stapler up in the air. It's 100% wrong. It's never gonna come down. Never. Not once. Come on, okay, no. No, 100% wrong. It's gonna stay up there. Hey, get back here. Ow, I hit my foot.
And it has been completely refuted and replaced by quantum mechanics. Even though classical mechanics is definitely incorrect, it can still create the technology to put a person on the moon.
So it's not 100% incorrect.
Material success does not equal truth.
No, but it does equal fact.
Scientists like to pretend that they're on the side of logic and reason, when the opposite is true. They put their faith in the senses and are just as dogmatic about it as a mainstream religious person.
Maybe an individual scientist is, but science itself revises itself constantly. Constantly. We have since the Renaissance. And I like saying it that way, Renaissance. I could say Renaissance, but I prefer Renaissance. Anyway, point is, we have self-corrected the incorrect assumptions based on inductive and deductive reasoning over the last 400 to 500 years. They were never completely wrong. And yes, they were never completely correct, because there's always another question that can be asked. Hey man, did you know what goes up must come down? Oh yeah? What about the sun? Oh, shit. I hadn't thought about that. Well, I mean, it goes down below the earth, right? Well, maybe. How would we know? Maybe the sun just stays in place and we just turn around it. Oh, shit. How do we figure that out? All right. Okay. Look, it moves in a different relation to the stars. If we moved all at once, wouldn't that always be the same? Oh, fuck. Yeah, you're right. Fuck, someone make a telescope.
What the fuck is a telescope?
Don't believe the lie that scientists are on the side of logic and reason. They are on the side of empirical data, on fallible sense data. Sense data once said that classical mechanics was correct, even though it's now known to be 100% wrong.
It's not. God damn it. Dude, you said it was 100% wrong. The fuck? You're lying. You're lying sack of crap.
Bias and stubbornness is just as present in scientific materialism as anywhere else.
Well, when you're right, you're right. But that doesn't mean it's wrong.
It's only once they're dead and gone that a new path is cleared for new ideas. That is why science can't come up with a theory for everything. If they got rid of their fallacious belief system and replaced it with a mathematical system of logic and reason, they would have a final theory of everything within 10 years.
Okay, I don't know if you know this, fucking blonde joke dude, but the grand unified theory is a mathematical theory. That's what they're using. That's what they've used. And it's taken a little more than 10 years.
Another huge misconception about science is that it has most things figured out about the world and that there are just a few things left to get right. Nothing could be further from the truth. Think about this carefully. Let's say you just entered this universe for the first time and you're trying to figure out what reality is. So you look at a table and you ask, what is a table? And the person might reply, well, a table is made out of wood. Now, has that really answered your question? Of course not. You would have to know what wood is first, or else you're just trading words around.
All right, this is kind of an aside because that explanation is pure bullshit. But if you really want to know how a creature that just entered the universe figures out what a table is, watch a baby. Watch a child. Watch them interact with anything. They will eventually figure out the use for something before they understand what it actually is. This is why they come up with really surprising uses for things. This is why they keep telling you that we're pretty much born geniuses but lose that capacity as we get older because we start to make assumptions about what things are. We don't first observe the material composition. When you first run into a table, chances are your thought is, ow.
So if you ask, well, what is wood? Then you get the answer, well, wood is a composite of molecules. But of course, you don't know what molecules are. So you ask, well, what are molecules? Molecules are composed of atoms. What are atoms? Atoms are composed of electrons, protons, and neutrons. Well, what are electrons, protons, and neutrons? Well, electrons are fundamental particles, and the protons and neutrons, they're composed of fundamental particles too. Okay, so what are fundamental particles? No idea.
Fundamental particles, also known as elementary particles. These include fermions, such as quarks, leptons, antiquarks, and antileptons, which generally are matter particles and antimatter particles, as well as the fundamental bosons, which are generally force particles that mediate the interactions among fermions. That's what fundamental particles are. That's what they are. We know what they are. We know what fundamental particles are. That is a physics thing that has been defined, and we know it. It's known. We don't have no idea. We have every idea.
That's right. Fundamental particles, what they actually are, is completely and totally unknown by science. Everything in reality is composed of fundamental particles, yet science has not the faintest clue what they actually are. And if you can't account for what everything in the universe is made out of, you can't account for anything at all.
I can't account for the inexplicable popularity of Drake's Hotline Bling, but I'm pretty sure music still exists.
Science cannot account for fundamental particles and hence has zero knowledge of what reality actually is.
You don't need to account for everything to understand a facet of reality. I don't know the ins and outs of bioengineering, but I'm pretty sure I know how to make a baby.
The universe, you or I, matter. It has no idea.
Yeah, it does. That's gonna take way more time than a fucking internet video is gonna be able to cover. But yeah, they do. Oh my God, they do.
It can build technology, but when it comes to truth, it has completely and utterly failed.
Only if you define truth as everything science hasn't figured out yet.
The Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics says that reality is collapsed into existence by an unreal, random, probabilistic wave function. That's crazy.
No, a Satanist arguing against a guy online who calls himself a Hyperion about the nature of reality, religion, faith, and science is crazy. Yet here we are!
And this all stems from scientism's dogmatic refusal to contemplate a non-local, mathematical existence outside of space-time.
It does contemplate this. That's how a lot of discoveries of physics are made, particularly quantum physics. Dude, I don't even. You can't bash science in one hand and then hold up mathematics and quantum physics up in another. They're all related. You dumb fuck!
Once you adopt a mathematical existence, all of this craziness disappears. But scientists are just as stubborn and closed-minded as those that follow a mainstream religion. By the Copenhagen interpretation, science is now founded on indeterminism and randomness.
Yes! The world is probabilistic.
This is the complete opposite of logic and reason.
No! Because we arrived at it mathematically and logically. It's not different.
They have made themselves into the enemies of reason. Reality is not based on an unreal, probabilistic wave function.
The probabilistic wave function is not unreal. It is mathematically real. Which, by the way, you said we were supposed to use mathematics to come to the conclusion of what's real. So therefore, the probabilistic wave function is real by your own philosophy, you idiotic, sophist fuck! Are you getting confused because there's something called an imaginary number? An imaginary number is not unreal. You know what? I'm giving you way too much credit. You probably didn't even get that far. Also, just because something is random doesn't mean it's unreal. I got a whole bucket of D&D dice that say otherwise.
Instead, reality is based on pure mathematical frequency. sine and cosine waves generated by the Euler formula, the Soule equation, whose interactions give rise to the space-time dimension and what humanity calls physical reality. Physical reality is not based on something unreal and random, as scientism absurdly claims. Instead, it is based on the immaterial singularity composed of living mathematical patterns, sine and cosine waves. Scientific materialism and empiricism must be abolished and replaced with scientific rationalism and idealism.
Okay. Are you going to tell us what scientific rationalism is?
If scientific rationalism was accepted, then a revolution of knowledge would occur and all the problems and gaping contradictions in the current paradigm would be solved. But this would mean that scientists would need to accept a mental and a mathematical existence, something they refuse to do and fear because they would have to admit their material beliefs were wrong.
I think they refuse to do it because that's just a bunch of random words put together. I mean, I could also say that scientists refuse to look into the reality of the immaterial boson upon the fourth dimensional plane of the string theory. None of that is real.
Scientific materialism will be replaced by scientific rationalism. This is inevitable.
Well, it's inevitable. Well, you know what's also inevitable? The eschaton. Because it says it's inevitable.
Scientific materialists are incredibly close-minded, and they shut down any discourse about scientific rationalism and idealism. As Max Planck said, a new scientific truth does not triumph by convincing its opponents and making them see the light.
You keep quoting Max Planck. Are scientists wrong or right? I mean, you obviously don't understand math. Obviously. So, what?
Scientism?
All right, stop saying scientism. That, you sound retarded.
It denies a priori logic.
What? Do you even know what a priori means? You just read Immanuel Kant once and thought you got it, didn't you? Oh, I'm probably giving you way too much credit. You probably read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, and you got that wrong. A priori knowledge is knowledge or justification as independent of experience, as with math and tautologies, such as all bachelors are unmarried. A priori principles are part of reason, logic, and science. Like, you have to have them. They use them all the time. You find me, a scientist, don't do math. I guarantee you will not find one.
Scientism is not rigorously mathematical.
What? Science is extremely mathematical in nature. Extremely. Extremely. You can't do physics, medicine, or even statistical analysis without math. You can't do astrophysics. You can't do engineering. Math ability is the key to all those courses of study. All of them.
As it mutilates mathematics by denying the reality of complex numbers in order to fit their materialist belief system.
How do you respond to that? How do you respond to something so wrong?
Scientism is not rational.
What? Science. Not based on rational. Not based on the rational. Science. Science! Hyperionism
rejects scientific materialism.
Oh, yeah, oh, right. Right, you reject it. Okay. Oh, fuck. Oh, shit. Well, I'm convinced.
And instead supports scientific rationalism. It is a system based on a complete and consistent mathematical reality that supports a mental existence outside of space-time. It guarantees that you are an eternal mind, a soul of infinite energy that can never die, governed by the Euler formula.
Oh, God, you're going to make me look up this Euler formula. Okay, fine. All right, let's check it out. All right, so I'm looking up Euler's formula, and it seems to be about establishing a fundamental relationship between trigonomic functions and exponential functions. What? What? The relationship between trigonomic and exponential functions? That has nothing to do with the mind or the soul. Just pure numbers. Pure numbers. And according to this, it's one of the most common formulas used. Euler's formula, according to Wikipedia, is ubiquitous in mathematics, physics, and engineering. The physicist Richard Feynman, all praise his name in the name of scientism, called the equation our jewel and the most remarkable formula in mathematics. So it's just part of complex number theory. It's just numbers. It's higher mathematics. That's it. Math doesn't teach you anything about the soul. Did you see the movie Pi? Like one too many times while you are high with brain damage? That's what happened, isn't it?
The soul equation.
All right. There's only one reference for a person that calls this the soul equation. And that's you. You're the only one who calls it that. Like, the only one. Like nobody else. Nobody.
Arthur Schopenhauer said, "All truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident."
Okay, here's the thing about that, though. It has to be true. For it to pass through those stages of truth, it has to be true. True.
Such is the fate of all great truths. Do you have the ability to see the truth now? To be able to step outside of the confines of the belief system that you were born into? Break through the outdated and backward system of materialism.
And into the very innovative backwards world of Hyperionism.
And take a step forward with us into the future.
Where we can get math, physics, and religion all wrong at once. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the greatest fucking mind of our goddamn time. He did the impossible. He got everything wrong. Not one thing is right. We have found the embodiment of untruth. Here it is. Stare into the abyss. The nothing. The everything. The black serpent which will destroy all reality. It is here. It is nigh. Praise his name. Praise his name.
Ad Astra. To the stars.